Well, who would have thought we'd be doing Christmas in July? But here goes. So I am making and showing you guys how to make a miniature folding screen. You've possibly seen some that I've done before. This is my first one using these designs. Basically, I've cut all my parts already. There is a lot of glue in here, but it's actually a fairly easy project to put together. I've already glued most of it, I'll be honest, just so you don't have to watch me gluing bits and pieces together. But for the sort of the main screen, if you like, there are 6 pieces altogether. 2 of them get glued to each other back to back, which then forms the ones I have made earlier. This, whatever sort of colours you want. But anyway, I'm going to glue this together. I'll show you how I glue it. I use Scotch glue sticks because I find it, well, it dries quickly, it's permanent, and it doesn't wrinkle the card. So I'm just going to quickly do this. Pay particular attention to the edges. And you'll see I've got my trusty sheet of paper towel, which helps catch any excess glue that might spread out. Put the lid back on so that it doesn't dry up, because I'm running out of that glue and Amazon haven't delivered yet. And I'm just going to line these up. It is important to get it lined up. And you do have a bit of play in the glue before it dries. I'm just going to turn it over and check it's lined up. Wipe off the excess there. And I'm just going to take my scraper tool, if I can find it. I'm just going to push it down, make sure it's all lined up, which it is. I'll get my large scraper, it'll be easier. You'll notice the writing on there, I don't know if you can see that, but it's just to remind me which piece goes where. And although it's not on this project, and you wouldn't see it anyway, I have got score lines that help me line bits up, so don't panic about lining anything up here. Okay, now normally I would set this under a book just to let it dry for a while, but I'm not going to do that because I'm going to ink the edges, and I've inked the edges of all of this project. I've already inked other pieces so far already, so that you don't have to sit and watch me ink things. And I'm using gold for this one, and I'm just going to lightly go around the edges. I don't want too much, just enough to hide the white, so the core of the cardstock. So you can see, possibly see that. The reason I'm using gold, of course, is because it's Christmas. I would normally use brown or something, but whatever you want to use, of course, depends on the colours that you've chosen. And I have chosen specifically Christmas cardstock, because it's a Christmas project. Okay. So I'm just going to sit that under a book just for a minute whilst I show you the other bits and pieces. So this 3 pieces here is the stars for the tops of the trees. I've cut them out of sort of 3 different colours, gold, silver and green, actually, just because I had some scraps left over, if you can see them there. I already glued them, so they're nice and dry, ready to get stuck on. So I'll just move them to the side. And also the 3 trees, which you've possibly seen already. Okay, so 3 trees. Again, there's about 4 layers in each of them, I think. Just make sure you get them the right way around, make sure you glue them. Pay particular attention to gluing the edges, that's the important bit. The middle pieces, not so much. And I've inked these as well, using a mixture of silver, gold and green, actually, because once I put the silver on, it was too silver, so I just went over it with some green as well. So it gives it a bit of depth. So that's the 3 trees. I'll just set them to the side. And this is sort of the main top panels. And again, I've cut them out of tartan Christmas cardstock. And I've inked the edges of these as well, ready to go. Okay, so again, not many pieces to this project really. But we can now start to put it together. So we'll take our 3 pieces. So I've got left, middle and right. And we glue this piece on, which is that sort of forms the hinges. It also raises the panels as well, slightly, without using foam pads. And it also helps to give more strength. So we'll just glue this bit by bit. As I said, there are score lines on the project when you cut it to allow you to help you line this up. Just move them out of the way just now. So I'm going to take my piece of paper towel and my glue, and I'm going to do this bit by bit. And I should have pointed this out, the way you fold it, or the way I prefer, one fold is a mountain fold and one fold's a valley fold on this bit here. They're not both the same way. Just sort of bear that in mind. Because if you make a mistake and do one wrong and then you have to fold it the other way, you end up tearing the cardstock. So I'm just going to glue this. Again, pay particular attention to the edges. That's the bit that you want to be stuck properly. And I'm just going to glue half of the hinge here, because I'm only going to be gluing half the hinge down first of all, getting that lined up. So I'm just going to line this up with the marks that I've made. I don't have score lines on this one because I thought about it after I cut it. I thought actually it would be easier to have score lines for you guys. I'll take my scraper tool and just press that down. And I'm ready to do the next one. I'll turn this over so I don't get glue on the front. And again, I'm just going to glue. Again, paying attention to the edges, half of the hinge again. And what I tend to do is sort of sit back and let the light shine on it to see that I have not missed any pieces, any edges or corners. That looks about right. So I'll get my middle piece and I'm going to line this up again with the marks that I've got. Again, there's score lines for all these parts here. Let's make sure that's lined up. And importantly, make sure it's lined up at the bottom. If it's not, which this one isn't quite, I'm just going to move it slightly and then it won't sit properly. And just make sure that your sort of the hinged part, the crease part, is in the center. And just check that it does fold, which this one does, which is good. I normally make these with separate hinges. This is the first time I've done one with joined up hinges, mainly for quickness, for easiness, and also to make it a bit stronger. Because what I found in ones that I made like 3 or 4 years ago, some of the hinges have come a bit loose, the glue's kind of not gluing anymore. So this way it should last a lot longer. So final piece, again, glue half the hinge. Well, there's only half the hinge left, of course, Michael, what are you saying? There we are. And just get ready to line this piece up. Again, just making sure it's lined up at the bottom. So if you've got a cutting mat like mine with the grids on it, it's very, very useful. But you can use a rule at the bottom there just to make sure everything's lined up. To be honest, I don't think this is perfectly lined up, but I'm going to go with it anyway because you guys are watching. And we'll just make sure that folds. You can see that folds nicely. It doesn't need to fold perfectly folded, you know, because it would sit flat like this in the envelope that's also included in this project. And then it kind of sits like that, if you can see that there. Okay, right, we can then start to build up the layers. So we've got the panels here, and again, they just line up. So you'll see, if you can see that there, they would line up with the pattern, if you like, the wavy pattern. So again, it's just a case, I'm going to get a fresh sheet of paper towel and I'm going to glue the back. I don't need to worry too much about going to the edges because it does overlap slightly anyway. I think that's probably enough glue there. We'll just get this lined up. So we'll get the first one and then we'll line up the rest to this first one. Again, take my scraper and just press this down. Again, just make sure it is perfectly lined up. Even once you've scraped it down, it will move depending on the glue that you've used, of course. But the scraper just makes sure it's properly pressed. Alright, let's turn this over so I don't get glue in the front because we'll see this tartan bit now. So I'm just going to, again, don't need to go too close to the edges because I don't need to. again, get this one lined up, and I'm going to use my ruler here just to get it straight. I think we're looking good there. Again, press it down. Now that I'm seeing this put together, I'm not convinced about the green hinges, I will say, but too late now. Turn this over again and just glue the last piece. And again, get my ruler just so I make sure it's lined up. Oh, I just see I've got some glue in the edge there, let's wipe that off. You do have a few seconds of sort of movement with the Scotch glue, which I quite like. And of course, like I say, it doesn't dry permanently. It's my favourite go-to glue. Again, just press that down. And again, I would normally sit this under a book just to let it dry, keep it flat, but I don't have time for that. So I'm just going to carry on and stick our Christmas trees on. Now, as to where you want to put them, entirely up to you. I'm going to go with them sort of round about there. I'll do the middle one first. Let's just decide what way round I want to do them. So I think we'll put the dark one in the middle. Okay. Again, you can put these on with foam pads if you want, but they're quite thick anyway, being 4 layers, or 5 layers I think actually. So I'm just going to glue them straight on. So we'll get the first one lined up. I've got some excess glue there, let's just wipe that off. Of course, the tartan paper is useful here because it gives me something to line it up to. Right, let's just make sure that's straight before I push it down. Which is not quite. That's it there. And I'm just going to carefully push this one down. And the second one. Wipe off the excess glue. Get that roughly in place. Again, just make sure it's lined up with the one next door. We're good to go there. Push it down. And the final one. Again, pay attention to the edges of the piece with the glue, otherwise it will start to lift. So we'll get that centered using the ruler to help guide me. I think we're about good there. Actually, maybe not quite. As you can see, there is I do have a bit of play before the glue grabs. I'll just press that down as well. And then it's the stars. And they just sit on top of the Christmas tree. Some excess glue there, don't want that. And they kind of just touch the top of the tree. Push it down. Now the next one, exactly the same. And the last one. Okay, that's looking good so far. So if you can see that there, and it's actually quite heavy. because of all the card. So it's going to be sturdy, and it will last a while. But I'm going to pause the video now because I am going to sit this under a book just for 20 minutes or so, and then we'll come back and finish it off. Okay, I know I said I was going to leave that to dry for about 20 minutes. I've actually been away for about an hour and a half because I decided to have some lunch. So we're back now, and we're going to finish putting the screen together. So for the parcels at the bottom, I've already glued them. I have inked the edges as well, just so you don't have to watch. And I've decided to put these on with foam pads just to raise them up a bit. I'm just using small ones like this, 4 on each parcel. I've already decided where I want to put them. So I'm just going to stick them on one by one, just making sure they're on straight. I'm also going to do the envelope as well, which I have not made yet, I must admit. So I don't really know if it's going to work, but we're going to find out. It works in my head, at least. So that'll be fun. I should have possibly done some of these before starting the video again, so you don't have to sit and watch me. It's quite good, this tartan paper. It's very easy to line everything up. You just follow the lines of the tartan. Just putting them on fairly randomly. Just push them down just to make sure they're stuck. Now with these images here, the trees and the parcels, they're all from Miss Kate's Cuttables, something like that. I have adapted each and every one of them because what I found, especially with the trees, each layer wasn't exactly the same. It kind of just didn't work, which was annoying. The parcel's the same as well. The sort of the ribbon, they overlapped, or the sort of crisscross ribbon, which I didn't like. So I did a bit of slicing and welding and made them just right. Yeah. What I'm going to do is just take my ruler, just so I can apply even pressure, and just push them down. Just make sure they stick. And that is the screen done. If you can see that there. So I'm just going to pop that to the side, and let's have a go at putting this envelope together. So for the envelope, there are 5 pieces. So I've got the 4 red pieces here, which are just cut out of just ordinary, quite thick paper, but I wouldn't quite call it cardstock, because it is just a sort of protection envelope. But what I have done is I've cut the rectangular piece out of craft board, which is a bit thicker, just to give it a bit of rigidity. So if you were posting it, I would probably put it into something else as well. So let's see if this is going to work. This will be fun. So I'm just going to take my ruler to help me with the folding here. Fold that over. And by using a ruler, I'm applying even pressure all the way along, and I'm just going to. And I did already mess one of these up when I did the fold because it crumpled, so I wasn't paying attention. So we'll do this side as well, just exactly the same. There was also something on the mat when I was cutting, so there's a bit here that's just not very pretty. So I'll just trim that there. There was a scrap of card on the mat. The importance of having a clean mat. I do want nice crisp folds for this. So when this goes together, it's about 1 centimetre deep, the envelope, which is more than enough for the height of the card, or the screen, whatever we want to call it. So let's carry on with the next one. I've also noticed with this cut, which is strange, is that it's not a solid line, the score line. So I just wonder if there was something on the mat that was causing the wheel to jump. Also I've got the Maker, well Maker 3 now actually. So I'm using the scoring wheel rather than the stylus. And to be honest, I never ever liked the stylus. It never really gave a good enough crease, I found anyway. Especially with sort of the thicker cardstock. But the scoring wheel, much better. Right, we're nearly there. Then we'll get to start putting this together. Like I say, be prepared for this not working. If it doesn't work, of course, I'll adjust it before I let anyone loose on the project. But I didn't really have time to do a test cut before doing a proper cut for this one. Right, so basically, what my plan is that the first score line, so if you can see that one there, that's where you're lining up the back piece to. So if you can see that there, it's just going to line up there. But actually, let's do this around so I can kind of see what I'm doing. So this will be the back of the card. Although it doesn't need to be, it could be the inside if you wanted. Yeah, that should be alright. So I'll get my glue. I'm onto a different Scotch glue stick this time. These are a bit chunkier, so they're not quite so easy to use, but they still do the job. Now because this, ideally you want to cut the envelope in one piece, of course, but it's just too big. And I was going to do it in two pieces, and I thought, well, a lot of people don't have 12 to 24 mats, for example, or even big enough cardstock, like A3 cardstock. So that's why I did it in sort of 5 pieces. Right, that's fine for that one. So let's do the bottom piece. So these should, in theory, line up. Which that does. Okay. Notice I'm measuring first before gluing, in case I need to make any trims. But actually it's looking good so far. And it should fit, he says, hopefully. So I'm not going to press that down, let's just see if it's lined up on the inside there. So yeah, we just wanted to line it up with the crease line. I think we're good to go there. Scrape it and just press that down. And you actually see when you're using the scraper to press these down, you can see it adhering better. Yeah, I think we're actually going to be okay. Getting slightly excited now that this is going to work. The one thing I'm not sure about whether it's going to work or not is the slot in the front here, just to tuck in this tab. But we'll soon find out. I'll just offer that up and then we'll get it lined up. Yep, I think we're all right there. I mean, I suppose if you really wanted to, you could cut another rectangle and just stick it on the back here. That would just hold everything together. But it depends if you're going to use this as an envelope that's going to get thrown away, I suppose, or if you're going to use it for storing it after Christmas. This is obviously a Christmas one, you're only going to want it out at Christmas time. I suppose it just depends. Now this piece here, this has got 2 little flaps here. I'm hoping that'll work. They're quite small, and it's only because of the width of this. If I made the flaps any bigger, it wouldn't have fitted on a 12 by 12 mat, which was annoying. But they may not even be necessary once we've sort of glued this all together. So it is a bit like the blind leading the blind here, I must say. Again, we'll just offer this up. See that that's in the right place. Yes. Let's just press that down. Fantastic. Right, now the front. So what I'm going to do is just pop a bit of glue on the tab. Whether these even hold or not, I don't know, because I'm not going to get my hand in to actually attach them. Actually, we might manage to do it this way. Let's try and hold that there for a second. Yeah, see, that one's come away. This is really where I want high tack glue, of course. I think that's kind of all right there. Is that going to hold? Yes, so you can see, hopefully, what my intention was here. So what I need to do now, because this flap's going to glue down, so we're just going to put a couple of lines of glue here. I'll go right to the edge. The same at this side. Again, we'll just offer this up. I need to make sure this is right at the edge, of course. I won't press it down yet, because to press it down, what I'm going to do is this. So I get the ruler in first. I'm going to use the ruler to kind of press this down to either side. See, that's looking pretty square. And now, this is the moment of truth. Will this tab go into this flap? And it does. It can actually possibly be moved up ever so slightly, but actually it works fine. I suppose you could put a little bit of tape on there, or sort of a sticker or something to hold it down. So now let's see that it fits, more importantly. It fits on the canvas, but that's not to say it won't fit. Now, just slide that in there. Hey presto. I think that is very much a case of job done. So let's open this up again. Obviously you could cut this out of thicker card if you wanted, quite easily. But it's fairly sturdy with having the craft card at the back. And what I would have actually done before gluing these flaps on is sit it sort of flat under a book to let this bit dry so it doesn't wrinkle. But that's it. So let me grab my camera. So it's quite Christmassy. Let's just sit it up. The light's in front of me here, so I don't know how well you can see that, but that's how it kind of sits, if you can see that there.